At the beginning of the film story, we are shown a small kingdom called Iceni, where people lived in peace and harmony. However, this is the time when the Roman Empire had captured almost all of Britain after the war. This kingdom used to belong to Britain, but until now, the Roman Empire had not captured it. After the scene is cut, the atmosphere of war in a kingdom near Iceni is seen. Roman soldiers were killing the innocent people there, and in this desperate condition, all these people pray to God for the arrival of a goddess to help them. They tell the Roman soldiers that the day will come soon when a queen will come and save them from their cruelty. This was very strange to the Romans. The Roman soldier's general immediately goes and tells this to his king, who is angry after hearing the whole story. That is why he immediately orders them to kill all the powerful women of the empire, especially those women who could compete with him. More than anger, maybe he was afraid of his defeat. On the other hand, Iceni's general also had bad news for his kingdom, which was that the Roman Empire is sending a new general there. Surely he would not do any good to them, and they would have to be ready for any difficulty. At this time, the king's wife, Boudica, had just left to go with her daughters to the market. On the way, she sees the corpses hung on the trees. Boudica's daughters get scared, so Boudica tells them not to be afraid, that surely these must be people who had done something bad. But interrupting Boudica's words, her maid says, no, their only fault is that they are Christians. Because the Romans don't like Christians, that's why they killed them. These people come to the market while walking, where the people of the other tribe, as soon as they see Boudica, all suddenly bowed to her. They were calling her goddess Boudica. Boudica was shocked and could not understand what was happening. A Roman soldier also sees all this. He considers Boudica a powerful woman, and following his king's order, comes to kill her and forces her. Then the girl who had bowed to Boudica first quickly took out her sword and separates that man's hand, and the next second separates his head, killing this Roman soldier. This was considered a big sin. These people knew that now the Roman army would come to take revenge, so they all run away. But now the Roman soldiers go after the queen. The king, to save Boudica's life, talks about a patch-up with the Roman soldiers. These soldiers also agree to spare Boudica's life, but on one condition, which was that Boudica would definitely be punished. And that punishment was that Boudica could not leave the palace for a whole year. After their departure, Boudica talks to her husband, that is the king. She tells him all the stories that happened in a market and asks, I didn't understand one thing. Why did they call me goddess? The king replies, maybe because you are from the bloodline of barbarians, the bravest soldiers in the world. The next day, like a routine, Boudica was playing with her daughters with a wooden fake sword, which the king was happy to see. The king thought that maybe Boudica doesn't know how to use a real sword. After the departure of his daughters, as soon as he starts teaching Boudica how to use a sword, Boudica very cleverly attacks him with her fake sword. The king didn't understand what had happened and suddenly found himself caught by Boudica. Seeing this move, the king understood that Boudica is very powerful and that he was wrong to think she didn't know how to use a sword. He now brings Boudica to his room and takes out a sword in front of her. This sword was given to him by Boudica's father. This was not an ordinary sword, but a sword of the barbarians. The most special thing about this sword was that it was the sword of goddess Boudica, which was made with the help of a lot of magic. The next day, the Roman general comes to Iceni, about whom the king had already heard from his general. Despite being enemies, all the people there give so much respect to the Roman general, as if he were a very special guest. But that general was considering them less than insects. For now, he leaves from there, but the king had already known that his intentions were not good. That is why, with his general, before the Roman soldier attacks their kingdom, he decides to attack the Romans' high platoon so that he can save his kingdom. He prepares his army at night and goes to war. This war was very heavy. The Roman soldiers were strong, and these people did not have many weapons. But they do not lose hope, and thus the war is won. However, they paid a very high price for winning. The kingdom returns and gives bad news to Boudica that the king is no longer in this world. This news had broken Boudica badly. Now there was no one to take care of the kingdom, so Boudica makes herself strong and takes care of all the responsibilities. As soon as the Romans find out about her ruling the kingdom, the general goes to her the next day. She is told that no woman can rule any kingdom under the Romans, and that Boudica had committed a very big crime. In return for her punishment, all her kingdom was now in the hands of the Romans. Not only this, Boudica is given an even worse punishment. In front of all the people of her kingdom, taking off her royal clothes, the Roman soldiers attach her to a tree and start beating her with chains. And no one standing there could do anything for their queen. Boudica was badly injured and unconscious. It was night, and we see that someone suddenly attacks the Romans sitting in Iceni. These were the same people who considered Boudica a goddess. They fight all the Roman soldiers there, save Boudica, and take her from there. Boudica is treated after being taken to their kingdom. As soon as she comes to her senses, she first asks about her daughters. She is given the bad news that her daughters were killed in the attack, and in such a big trauma, Boudica loses her consciousness again. Many days pass like this. Then one One day Boudica comes out of the tent after recovering, where she sees that children were learning to fight with fake swords. Among these children, there were also daughters who looked exactly like her daughters. These girls tell Boudica that the people of their kingdom consider her a goddess and believe that she will save them from the Romans. Boudica, whose loved ones were killed by the Romans and whose kingdom the Romans had taken, herself gets ready to take revenge on the Romans and starts practicing. Seeing her training, the people there give her the same sword that the king had given her some time ago. While Boudica was looking at this sword, the general of another kingdom arrives, whose name is Wulfgard. The Romans had also attacked the kingdom of Wulfgard, and he also wanted to fight the Romans. That is why all these kingdom people were meeting each other, so that they can easily defeat the Romans by making a big army. However, when Wulfgard sees Boudica as his leader, he starts insulting her and tells the rest of the people that he will not fight under a girl who does not know how to fight herself. He takes Boudica's sword from her hand, makes fun of her, and throws it in the river behind them. As soon as she sees her sword falling in the river, Boudica quickly jumps into the water, even though she did not know how to swim. She did not come out of the water for a long time, and the people there started thinking she must have died. But then suddenly Boudica comes back with her sword. Seeing her courage and bravery, Wulfgard, who was insulting her earlier, was also impressed with her and agrees to work with her. Everyone bows down to her in respect. It is night, and we see that everyone is doing a ritual with Boudica, in which Boudica was considered their goddess. And Boudica swears in front of all these people that she will take her land and her kingdom back from the Romans. Boudica is informed that in the next 2 days, a very large platoon of Roman soldiers will come out of her kingdom. Boudica decides to attack those soldiers, but Wulfgard refuses to support Boudica because he knew that those soldiers would be in large numbers and there were more chances of losing. He tells Boudica that he can't put his soldiers' lives in danger. As soon as she hears this, Boudica decides to attack them alone and went ahead to fight those soldiers with her loyal people. But then she sees that Wulfgard has also come to help her with all his soldiers. Seeing this, Boudica was very happy. Finally, the Roman army was in front of them. They attacked this army. We see that in this army, there was also Boudica's old general. He goes ahead to talk to Boudica, but Boudica does not recognize him and kills him thinking he is a Roman soldier. In anger, Boudica had lost control of herself, again and again taking out her anger on this man. On the other hand, the soldiers of Wulfgard were fighting the Roman soldiers and succeeded in defeating the Romans to a great extent. These people attached the heads of the Roman soldiers to the arrows and made them their weapon of victory. They also looted all their belongings. After this war, there was peace in their kingdom for a long time. We see that some dwarfs have come to meet Boudica. They tell Boudica that she will have to do some rituals to become a complete goddess, in which they make Boudica drink the blood of humans and do other strange things. The leader of these dwarfs tells Boudica that her end and death are near and that she has to do a lot before she dies. It is known that Boudica still had her daughter's visions. The words of this woman bring Boudica out of those visions and make her believe that her family has been killed. After this realization, Boudica was very sick. But Boudica did not have the courage to lose now. Her life's purpose was to fight the Romans, so she prepares a very large army and attacks a city called Camellia, where the Romans had killed the common innocent citizens, and now there were only Roman soldiers. In this attack by Boudica, many Roman soldiers are killed, after which Boudica sets the city on fire. In the joy of Boudica's victory, the next morning all the soldiers of Boudica make the same mark on their faces as Boudica had made on hers, although they did not know that the mark on her face was the mark of slavery, which was made by the Romans. When Boudica asks them if they know what this mark means, the soldiers tell her that they are not so educated, but they know that by making this mark, they are making her identity their own. After hearing all this, Boudica was feeling very powerful. She decides to attack London now, where there were the most Roman soldiers. They make a very large army and attack London too. Here too, Boudica's soldiers showed courage, killed many Roman soldiers, and won this war as well. After all these attacks, the power of the Romans was decreasing. Now the Romans were also in danger of losing their lives, so they started to protest against their own king. They burn buildings, and it becomes a new scene of destruction. In all this chaos, the Romans' generals come to the king of Rome to ask him what to do next and whether war would be declared. But in response, the king says, "I don't know. I am not a warrior who knows how the war will be. I am a musician. I only know how to sing, and I can't handle all these things." As soon as he says this, he cuts the veins of his hand and takes his own life. The news of the king's death reached Britain. Wulfgar knew that the authorities would not sit quietly now and would definitely come to take revenge. So he tells Boudica that they should disappear for a while, and then after a while make an even bigger army and attack again. But Boudica doesn't want to stop now. She just wants to finish the Romans, even if she has to pay any price for it. In response, Wulfgar says that he can't risk his soldiers' lives again and again, and that if she wants to fight now, she will have to go alone. Boudica's decision was firm. She goes to war with only one tribe. But this time, the Romans had also come fully prepared. It was not easy to fight them. Boudica's army was being killed, and the Romans, with a trap laid by themselves, killed many of Boudica's soldiers. Boudica's army and strength are reduced, after which the Romans began to overpower her. A Roman soldier attacks her, and she falls down. She was in a lot of pain, but she did not want to die helpless. She gets up again with courage, determined to fight until her last breath. They were very close to losing when she hears the voice of Wulfgar from behind. Wulfgar had come to Boudica's aid for his companions, and the war begins again, with Boudica's people going on to win. While fighting, Boudica gets visions of her daughters, saying to Wulfgar that whatever you do, you have to die in the end. Her visions distract her from fighting, and in this way, she gets struck by an arrow. Seeing Boudica fall, it was like a golden opportunity for the Roman soldiers. All of them, together, stabbed Boudica with swords, killing her. Boudica was dead, and before she died, she spent good moments with her family in her visions. Whether Boudica won the war or not was not told, but in the post-credit scene of the story, we are told that Boudica's story was real. Even today, the statue of Boudica and her daughters is in London, and with that the movie ends.